Thursday edition of Panola Pride. Our guest today is Mrs. LaGrone, and we'll be talking about things and happenings in Panola County in the past. But first, let me remind everyone our program is made possible by Superior Homes in Longview at 1225 West Marshall. You can reach them by calling area code 903-753-2701. They have Skyline, Spirit, Schultz manufactured homes, 1 2-bedroom, 1 2 baths, 3 bedrooms, whatever you might need, new and used. Financing is available. So if you need a manufactured home, we recommend that you talk with the people at Superior Homes in Longview. That business out of the way, and we have a little business we need to take care of as far as announcements. Good morning, by the way, Ms. LaGrone.
Good morning, good morning. I think it's going to be a good one. It's kind of murky now.
Kind of foggy outside, isn't it?
Really.
Panola County Historical and Genealogical Association regular meeting will be Monday, August the 3rd. We'll begin at 6:30 p.m., and that will be at the library jail.
Right.
And reminding everyone also that it's still not too late to order the Panola County history, and you do that by contacting anyone there at the old jail. Price is $50 plus tax, and special handling is available if you'd like one mailed to your home.
Yes, right.
Did I do that all right?
That's fine.
Do I get an A for that?
You get an A.
All right.
Marking
Speaking
that. No red marks.
No red marks today. Well, I needed a day like that.
Good.
And speaking of grading and giving marks, I think we're going to go back and talk a little bit about some educators in Panola County.
Yes. We had a session here a couple of weeks ago about some outstanding women educators, and I remarked then that we could boast about the fine leaders we had in education for the men in this county, and I thought we ought to lift up some of them. We can't cover them all because we have had some real outstanding ones. But I thought, in all fairness, we ought to not take the whole stage for the women. We have had some amazing early leaders, pioneer leaders among the men of this county that have gone on to make education their career and became leaders other places as well throughout the state and nation. I thought we better start with a really early one who was teaching school in this county back during the Civil War, and that was Professor Charles Scroggs. Or the community name for his family is called Scruggs, or was called Scruggs, and it's over there close to that old stage stop that used to be on the old Grand Bluff Road. And he was actually the father, I guess you might call him, of the Male and Female Institute in Carthage, and it took me a while to nail that down to him. But I mentioned before that we are the fortunate receivers of his graduation diplomas. I brought those one day to show because they are so rare. He got his bachelor's degrees in Pennsylvania, and they're still in fine shape. And they came to us at the Genealogical Library quite by surprise. They've been taken care of through the years, and we have had them what we call stretch sealed, where they're protected from dust, and we have them on display in the old schoolroom in the museum. And they date back to 1856. And the paper is superior paper on which they're made, and at the time he had come to Panola County from Virginia, but he became a leader in this county in the early days of education. And he first taught, I found in the Masonic records, he first taught his classes in the basement of the Masonic building. And of course we have hashed out where that Masonic building was. It really faced East Sabine, I believe. But anyway, this was before the male and female college building was built, where now Baker School is. But, and of course, the building of that building there is what named the street, College Street. At any rate, Professor Scroggs and married a Herring. And Herring, Lemuel Herring, was a Baptist preacher that helped to establish some churches in this county, helped Reverend Reed do that. And so Elizabeth was his daughter. And they married, and to them were born 8 children. And it was in the middle of supporting that family that he kept going back to Pennsylvania until he got that degree. And it's quite interesting to try to read it, because everything on it is in Latin. Even all the signatures of the teachers that he had and everything. Beyond a doubt, Professor Scroggs was a rare individual for his day. And he did promote education in this county. He is buried, he and his wife both are buried at New Prospect, which is out there close to that old, it's a cemetery and a Presbyterian church right out there on that old stage road. And as I said, that community was named Scruggs, and I've gone through all the history that I could get hands on to see the difference between Scruggs and Scroggs, and it just depended on who was recording it.
Mm-hmm.
The census has it Scroggs, and the community out there has it Scruggs, and so it goes both ways. Anyway, he established the male and female college about the same time that the Panola Watchman was born in 1873. So he'd already been teaching in this county from the 1850s till then, nearly 25 years, you see. And he was a teacher as early as 1859, for sure. Well, we could talk about him all morning, but we want to cover some others as well. And because of the things he did, why we could broaden our perspective on him. But going on to a man who made a name for himself in this county, he made a name for himself in Texas and throughout the nation, was Dr. O.H. Cooper. Now, you hear some interest right now in Old Macedonia Cemetery that they're going to put on a drive to clean up because it has grown up. Well, that was a busy community where they had churches, and two churches I know were organized there, and they later moved to other places. The present Macedonia Church is one of them, and the other was the the Methodist Church that later became Ebenezer, which is at Walton Methodist Church. Anyway, that was quite a community there at Old Macedonia, and that cemetery covers some really early people in this county. And I had a call from a lady, and we'll digress just a little bit, this week, a lady who is a den mother for some Boy Scouts, or I believe it's Boy Scouts she works with, wanting to know about the old Williams Cemetery, which is out the other side of Fairplay, just off the highway. And she's very concerned that it's not being taken care of. Of course, there's no way that I can see that these old cemeteries are taken care of. The only thing I can do is to take the record, record the record for posterity, and that's what I've done. I've gone from one to another, walked from grave to grave, and if they had a marker, then I took down this information, and it is on file in both of our local public libraries, the Sammy Brown Library and our jail library as well. And I told her that I had this information, but I couldn't have it cleaned off. That's impossible. But she had the idea that maybe some Boy Scouts would take it as a project, which is a fine thing to do. But old cemeteries, one of the sad things, that they are sacred places. But when they aren't used anymore, generations get away from them, and unless descendants take care of them, there's no one else to do it. You can't, a historical group can't possibly take on cleaning cemeteries. That would be out of our reach. Anyway, it looks like they're on the way to get a group to work on Old Macedonia, and I'm glad. I also have had a man called, and he just thought I wasn't doing my job because I was letting it grow up. And I said, but it doesn't belong to me. And he says, well, you can get it done, can't you? I said, I hope you can tell me how. And he says, well, go to the state. I said, go ahead. I'll be interested in what you find out. Well, anyway, it's only local groups that can make that happen. And if we don't use them, we don't see them. We don't know they're there. And only the people who have ancestors there can be held accountable. And when they get several generations away, they can't. And I guess that's as it should be, because the poet has said that the entire surface of the earth is the burial place of the dead. That some people have been here, have died and are gone, and all traces of where they buried are gone. And we're trying to keep written record. That's about the best we can do. Well, back to Dr. Cooper. If I had read nothing on him except Mrs. Malone's notes, it would have been a thrill. She thought he was next to God. Of course, she's a very religious woman, but next to her religion, she just practically worshipped O.H. Cooper. He became a professor here, taught in the rural schools. He's a native son, born in out there around Macedonia. That's why I started talking about Macedonia. And his father was a doctor, medical doctor, and is buried at Old Macedonia. And Dr. Cooper was such a smart child, and the wife, the mother, pushed him and gave him opportunities. And at 5 years old, he began to study, go to school, walk to school a mile. And then by the time he was 8, he was going to Carthage school and studying Latin. Well, we have some wizards today that we mentioned, you know, Thad Carter's son is a math wizard and is going to college now at 10 years old in math. Well, this happens now and then. It's tragic that we don't have facilities because there's so few that do that. We don't have facilities to take care of that unless they do manage some division of education. But anyway, Mrs. Dr. Cooper evidently was a wise woman, and she made every arrangement, along with her husband's support, to get him a fine education. So I had read where he went to Marshall University. Well, Marshall University before the Civil War was a private thing, and I have even studied the report on the teaching that he got over there, and it was in the home of the head of the Marshall University. You know, those early schools, they could teach advanced studies, but they didn't have enough students to run a school. Though they call it a university, it would really be a private school. Well, this is what he did, and he became a master in Latin and German and all of this, and he after teaching in the rural schools, he became more advanced in his work. And the amazing thing was that he became a leader in education across the state. And he attended schools in Carthage and in Rusk County. They had some advanced training there that they saw that he got. He even went to Tyler and Smith County, and finally to Marshall University for his education. He taught in the rural schools of this county, and became then he had gone to Rusk County to school, to Henderson, what it was called a male and female college also. This is the way they explained it when it was past the common elementary school. It would be a college. That our high school would be equivalent to it. And he became the president at Henderson. And then he became so important that he helped to establish the University of Texas. He had enough influence in the state to help pull it off, to get the University of Texas. And finally he became president of Baylor University. This is O.H. Cooper. Now, he had come back from Henderson to Panola County as head of Panola County, of Carthage Schools, superintendent, we call it now. And this was a male and female college. And he went from here to Baylor University as president. And Mrs. Malone, in her notes that I have collected, she went to Baylor because of him. And she just thought he was the most brilliant man that there was, and sang his praises all the way. At any rate, any community would be proud to claim Dr. Cooper, Dr. O.H. Cooper. Then came our first county school superintendent. I don't know whether we've made it plain that schools first were under the direction of the county court. The judge was the head of schools, just like he was the head of everything else in the county. And he had a set of trustees that were directed by him in the rural schools. But in 1907, a law had passed in Texas creating county superintendents, because by then so much business was in the county that a judge couldn't take care of all the schools and all the business of the county and everything else. It was more than a judge could do. So Professor Andrew J. Holmes, the father of a good many of the Holmes delegation, was elected. He also had taught all over this county and was a brilliant man by then. Of course, this is after the turn of the century now, into the 1900s. He became the first county superintendent. And at the time he became superintendent, there were just the little one-room and two-room country schools, and he started building up the schools in the county. And he doubled the number. There were 40-some elementary schools in the county when he resigned from this position after 5 years. In 5 years' time, he inspired the people to open community schools all over the county, and the state had come to support them by then. To a certain extent, there was a little state support, and then, of course, they had to pay some tuition, too. But up until his time, they were ungraded. You didn't have a first grade, second grade, and so on. You had a certain number of pages in the Blueback Speller, and a certain number of chapters in the McGuffey's Reader. And you had some numbers, you know, a certain mathematics, that arithmetic that you had to learn. But you went from page to page. When you learned a page, you went to the next page. And the classes went for pages. And they'd start there the next year. Schools were short, terms were short. But Professor Holmes changed all that. He set up grades in the schools and gave the schools through training of local trustees, they named the schools to what grades they could teach. They evaluated the schools, in other words. And the teachers had to have certain kinds of certificates if the schools taught more than three levels, 3 grades as he set them up. And then if they went on up to through the 7th grade, they had to have a more advanced certificate. Those teaching certificates were secured through teacher examinations. And if they were just going to teach the primary grades, they took a county examination for a certificate. And they couldn't leave the county. They could teach primary children. Now we know that first grade teachers have to have as fine an education as a college professor, because we don't want to make a mistake when a child starts to school, or we may change his attitude forever toward education. So, but then they had to learn that. And so by the time he'd held the office 5 years, he had set up a school system in this county that was unbelievable. by other areas. It was way ahead of its time. And he resigned the job to become superintendent of Carthage School. And he became superintendent of Carthage schools, and he did a lot of organizing of them. And when he left the county, and we looked at this little booklet last week, when he left the county superintendent of schools, he published in a better cover than this. This is just a copy. Panola County School Annual, and this is 12 and 13. That's when he left it. He'd been the county superintendent, and that names all the teachers in the county at that time. It has pictures of the school buildings that were in the county at that time. He describes every school building in the county, and about half of them he had caused to be created while he was superintendent of schools. So that man's influence went a long, long way.
Even to the point of giving a blueprint of the classroom.
Yes, he does, yes. How to build the classrooms to facilitate education in the schools. Well, running on because time moves on, we'll move to some more modern ones. I don't have time to go into a great deal about Dr. T.O. Walton, but I did want to mention him. He is a product of Gary schools. He came on out of Gary and continued to receive his education. And he was an outstanding student, and built himself into an outstanding educator, and became the president of Texas A&M College, university now.
So we have one that was at Baylor and one that's at Texas A&M.
Yes, two presidents right from this town, this community. In 1917, he became president of Texas A&M, and he stayed in that position 25 years, until in the early 1940s. So he continued to grow in his ability to influence people and education in general. So he is a son we can be very proud of. There are lots of Aggies, not ex-Aggies, Aggies. I'm told by my grandson that you're never an ex-Aggie. Anyway, they would know what an influence he's been for education through A&M. Then we have Dr. Claudius Chadwick I wanted to mention. Dr. Chadwick grew up out here on the Marshall Highway toward Rehoboth. And he got his education in the local schools, and then he received national honors for his advanced education. He was a graduate of Carthage High School in 1924. And then he graduated from Centenaire College in Shreveport. He went on to Vanderbilt University, where he also graduated. And then before his retirement, he had degrees from some honorary, some earned degrees from about everywhere. He became a professor of biology, which he served in that position in 3 different colleges or universities for a period of 45 years. And he's still living and comes now and then, but he is retired, of course. He became first, he was a graduate of Vanderbilt, but he first became a professor of biology at Vanderbilt. And I don't know how many years he served there before he went on to George Peabody College. And he served there for a number of years, and finally to Emory College. And he retired in 1972, and he received every honor just about that a professor could receive, national and statewide in Tennessee and Mississippi and all of the surrounding areas he was honored. So we can be very proud of Dr. Claude Chadwick. He comes back now and then to see his relatives. But of course he is, like some of the rest of us, he's aging now, but he has written the Chadwick story and has shared it with us, and we have it in the library. So anybody that is related to that Chadwick line would be welcome to come and read this. All told, we have a rich heritage of educators, and we can be proud of them. We could name some outstanding ones right now that we know well, but I wanted to bring us up to date with some of the past that have made a mark and have let the world know that Panola County is not asleep, that it is a center for education as well as good living.
Very good. Mrs. LeGrone, we've been talking about happenings in the past in Panola County.